Hi everyone, I'm James, this is my Spitfire, and today's video I'm going to be pulling out the prop shaft and checking it for any damage, as well as greasing the universals and getting it all bolted back to the transmission and diff. Here we go. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to need to do is pop the rear of the prop shaft back out again. I had it temporarily in place when I was fitting the transmission so I could make sure everything would actually line up okay. So what I will be doing is jostling it around at the front and then popping it out at the back if it doesn't fall out by itself. Okay, so here's the prop shaft. This is the diff end. You can see here the concave section in there for the end of the driven shaft into the diff, and you've got this locating lip to make sure it's all concentric. And the universal in there is dirty but in okay condition. Not, yeah, there's a hole there. You see that? There's a hole there. I'm not sure that that's meant to be open. I would assume there's a grease gallery in there. So let's have a look down the rest of it. That there is just a bit of a scrape mark. The camera makes it look a bit like a dent, but everything looks okay. I'll give it a very light spray of rust converter before I put it back in. So after a bit of fiddling I realised this is actually a variable length shaft, so I can do that. And if I have a spare hand, which I don't, sorry, move you around everywhere, I can shorten it again. I think at the moment it's at its minimum length due to the condition of the car and things. It'd be nice if it wasn't, but that would be why I had so much trouble getting it out. Now this universal, you see in there, if you just have a look, just in there, there's actually a screw in what I think is the open hole at the other end. So I wasn't planning on disassembling these universals, but I might be. And here at this end do have the similar arrangement. Sorry, you can't see in there very well because of the light. Can I turn a light on? That'll help. There we go. And that same lip there to hold it concentric on the transmission. Just before I start working on this, I'm going to weigh it. Just out of interest. .1 kilograms. First thing I want to do is give this a general clean. Particularly this universal, it's missing its plug. Interesting. If I bring you over here, there's no appreciable thread in that hole. Well, there is a telltale circle around the edge. I'm wondering if it's actually a grease nipple that's broken off. I'll do the other end and see what that looks like. Having cleaned up the universal at the other end of the prop shaft, I then set about sorting out a grease nipple to fit in the greasing hole. Unfortunately, I didn't have what I discovered later on was you can get extended grease nipples for just this sort of situation. I've got one now, but didn't have one at this point. Okay, unfortunately the camera stopped recording partway through there. I think what you've missed is the fact I did manage to get that universal greased. And I don't really have a solution for that open hole, so I've filled it all up with grease for now and I'll just have to keep an eye on it. I've also given the main body of the prop shaft a bit of a clean with some degreaser, and now I'm going to wipe it down with some meths to get it ready to have a quick shot of rust converter. Right. Using rust converter spray from CRC, does a pretty good job. Just going to do a light coating. Obviously, you don't want to throw off the balance, although it would take quite a bit of paint to throw off the balance. Something this heavy. Right. Let that dry and then it can go back in the car. Okay, off camera I have managed to fully grease this union that I couldn't get a grease nipple on. I ended up just bodging something up with my grease gun's needle fitting and some insulation tape, and it's done well enough to push the old grease out, so that's all good to go. As done previously, the one without, or the one with the broken off grease nipple in it, I've greased through the hole in the broken grease nipple, and I'll just leave that full of grease to protect it as best I can for now, and just keep an eye on it and keep it clean as much as I can. So now we can put it in the car. Okay, fully be able to feed it back way it came. I was initially pushing the end of the prop shaft along between the chassis rails, between the top and bottom lips. It actually needs to go above the top lip. With the prop shaft in place, I then proceeded to connect it to the transmission with a couple of bolts initially before I went to the rear and located it on the diff properly. Okay. Now it's just a case of doing up all the remaining bolts. So with all the bolts done up, that's the job done. By the way, I did actually torque up the rear union. Unfortunately, I don't have any crow's foot attachments for my torque wrench, so I wasn't able to do the front ones, so that was basically done by feel. Well, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, hit that thumbs up button. If you want to see what's coming next, hit the subscribe, and I'll catch you next time. Or in the comments.